When Joel Osteen, a well-known televangelist, broke the devastating news to his millions of followers,
Joel Osteen preaches about your best life now.
For decades, Joel Osteen has been one of the most recognized pastors in the world. Known as the Smiling Preacher, his message has always centered around positivity, hope, and faith in God's blessings. But recently, a wave of sadness fell upon his followers when news broke about his wife, Victoria Osteen. According to sources close to the family, she has been facing a tragic health diagnosis, one that has left both the church and their supporters heartbroken. For Joel, this has not been an easy journey. He has often preached about overcoming storms, yet now he faces one of the hardest storms of his own life. Reports suggest that Joel may step back from his public ministry to care for his wife and family. To millions who have looked up to him, it feels like the end of an era. The man who filled arenas with messages of hope may now be saying goodbye to that stage in order to stand beside the woman who has stood beside him for nearly 4 years. This announcement comes at a time when Lakewood Church has already faced many challenges, controversies, criticism, and declining attendance, but the personal battle Joel now faces is unlike any before. Joel Osteen's journey did not begin in fame. Born in Houston, Texas in 1963, he grew up in a family built on faith. His father, John Osteen, was once a Southern Baptist pastor. But in 1959, he stepped away from that path and founded what would later become Lakewood Church. It started small, inside an old feed store, with just a couple hundred seats. Joel's mother, Dodie Osteen, supported the ministry faithfully, and together they raised 6 children. Life was not without hardships. One of Joel's sisters, Lisa, was born with severe disabilities. And years later, Dodie herself was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Doctors gave her little chance of survival, but she lived, becoming an example of faith and healing. These struggles shaped the Osteen family, embedding the belief that prayer could overcome even the darkest times. Joel, however, was never interested in preaching. He was shy, preferred to stay behind the scenes, and eventually studied communications at Oral Roberts University before dropping out. His real passion was television production, and at just 19 years old he launched Lakewood's media ministry. For years, he worked behind the camera, making sure the broadcasts of his father's sermons reached the highest quality possible. Without realizing it, he was preparing himself for a role he never wanted. The turning point came in January 1999. After years of refusing his father's requests to preach, Joel finally agreed to deliver one sermon. Only days later, tragedy struck when his father suddenly passed away from a heart attack. With Lakewood Church left without a leader, Joel stepped into the pulpit, despite having no formal theological training. What happened next surprised everyone. His easy-to-follow, encouraging messages connected deeply with people. Within just a few years, Lakewood grew from 6,000 weekly attendees to over 25,000. By 2004, it had become the largest church in America. Joel's media background played a huge role. He expanded the television ministry, purchased airtime in major cities, and even moved the church into the former Houston Rockets Stadium, the Compaq Center, after a $95 million renovation. With seating for 16,000, it became the largest, regularly used worship facility in the country. Millions more tuned in through broadcasts around the world. Unlike traditional preachers who focused on sin and repentance, Joel spoke about living your best life, believing in yourself, and trusting God for blessings. His 2004 book, Your Best Life Now, sold over 4 million copies and stayed on bestseller lists for nearly 4 years. Joel Osteen was no longer just a pastor. He had become a global brand, a spiritual motivator for both Christians and non-Christians. With fame, however, came criticism. Lakewood's yearly budget reached over $90 million, but less than 2% reportedly went toward missions and charity, raising questions about priorities. Joel himself stopped taking a salary from the church after 2005, but his books, speaking tours, and merchandise made him and Victoria worth an estimated $100 million. They purchased a $10.5 million mansion in Houston. sparking debates about whether a pastor should live such a lifestyle. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Lakewood also took a $4.4 million federal loan through the Paycheck Protection Program, which critics argued should not have gone to such a wealthy ministry. The church later repaid the loan, but the damage to its reputation was done. And when Hurricane Harvey devastated Houston in 2017, Lakewood initially closed its doors instead of serving as a shelter. Pictures shared online showed the area around the church was dry, contradicting claims it was flooded. The backlash was fierce, and although Lakewood eventually opened its doors, the criticism never fully went away. Add to that lawsuits over music rights, financial transparency concerns, and even a violent church shooting in 2024, and Joel Osteen's once spotless reputation became clouded. Yet, through all of this, Joel kept preaching the same message: stay positive, trust God, and keep moving forward. While Joel has always been the face of Lakewood, his wife Victoria has been equally important in shaping the church's identity. Born in 1961, she met Joel in a jewelry store while studying psychology. They married in 1987 and became partners in both life and ministry. At first, she worked quietly in the background, but by 2003 she launched Lakewood's women's ministry, which today reaches thousands of women worldwide. Her own book, Love Your Life, became a bestseller, proving she too could inspire large audiences. Together, Joel and Victoria raised 2 children, Jonathan and Alexandra, both of whom are now actively involved in the church's worship ministry. For nearly 4 decades, Joel and Victoria have stood side by side through every challenge, both personal and public. To their followers, their marriage has always symbolized unity, strength, and faith in action. That is why Victoria's recent tragic health diagnosis has hit so hard. For the first time, the woman who has been a pillar of support for Joel and the church is now in need of support herself. It is this personal battle that has led Joel to consider stepping back, choosing family over the global stage he has held. For so long, Lakewood Church today is not what it was during its peak years. Attendance has dropped compared to the early 2000s. And the controversies of the last decade have left scars. Younger generations, who often prefer smaller, community churches, do not connect with Lakewood's massive arena-style services the way older generations once did. At the same time, security concerns after the 2024 shooting have created an atmosphere of fear around large worship gatherings. Despite these challenges, Joel has continued to preach, write books, and hold Night of Hope events across the world. Yet behind the scenes, his focus has shifted. With Victoria's illness, his priority is no longer building his brand or filling arenas. Instead, it is about being present for his wife, supporting her through treatments, and cherishing the time they have together. For a man who has preached for decades about family, faith, and trusting God in hard times, this decision reflects the very message he has shared with others. The stage lights may fade, but the love and devotion Joel shows his wife now speak louder than any sermon he could give. As Joel Osteen prepares to say goodbye to public ministry, at least for now, his legacy remains one of both admiration and controversy. He turned a small local church into the largest congregation in America. He sold millions of books, inspired people around the globe, and brought faith into mainstream conversations through television and media appearances. Yet critics will always point to the prosperity gospel message, the financial choices of Lakewood, and the scandals that surrounded his leadership. Still, for his supporters, Joel's legacy is far greater than those criticisms. They see him as someone who gave hope during dark times, encouraged millions to believe in themselves, and showed that faith could be uplifting rather than condemning. For Victoria, her role as co-pastor, author, and mother is equally significant. Even in sickness, she continues to inspire women of faith around the world. Together, Joel and Victoria's story is one of resilience, partnership, and enduring belief in God's goodness. As Joel steps back to stand beside his wife in her battle, he leaves behind a reminder that no matter how big the platform, the most important calling is often the one at home. In choosing family, Joel Osteen shows that true ministry begins not with the crowd, but with love. The details of Victoria Osteen's diagnosis have not been fully revealed to the public, but those close to the family describe it as a life-changing battle. In moments like these, titles, fame, and wealth all fade into the background, leaving only the reality of human vulnerability. For Joel, who has always spoken about trusting God in the storms, this is perhaps the greatest storm of his life. Their children, Jonathan and Alexandra, have also been deeply affected. Both grew up in the spotlight of Lakewood, often appearing alongside their parents during services and music performances. Now, as young adults, they are stepping into greater responsibilities within the church, while also carrying the emotional burden of their mother's illness. The Osteens have always portrayed themselves as a close-knit family, often sharing family photos, traditions, and stories to inspire their congregation. Behind the scenes, however, this diagnosis has forced them to face questions no family ever wants to face. How do you continue leading a global ministry when your loved one needs your constant care? How do you keep preaching about joy while walking through such deep pain? These questions have led Joel to re-evaluate his priorities and step back from the spotlight to walk hand in hand with his wife through this valley. Lakewood Church has always been more than just a local congregation. With millions of viewers tuning in worldwide, it has become a global spiritual community. The news of Joel possibly saying goodbye has sent ripples through this vast network of believers. Many church members have expressed their sadness, saying they cannot imagine Lakewood without Joel's familiar presence on stage. For years, his smile and reassuring words have been a source of comfort for people struggling with unemployment, illness, depression, or family issues. To them, Joel is not just a preacher. He is a lifeline of encouragement. At the same time, there has also been an outpouring of support. Members of the church and global followers are rallying together, sending prayers, messages, and words of strength to the Osteen family. Some pastors from other churches have stepped forward to offer guidance and temporary leadership if needed, while others see this moment as a call for Lakewood to rediscover its identity beyond Joel's personality. For a church that has often been criticized as a one-man show, this is a chance for its community to prove it can stand strong together. Whether Lakewood rises or falls in Joel's absence will depend largely on the unity and faith of its members. Looking ahead, the biggest question many are asking is, what happens to Lakewood Church if Joel permanently steps away? The church has become so closely tied to his image that imagining it without him seems almost impossible. Yet the future may lie in the next generation. Jonathan Osteen, Joel's son, has already taken on a growing role in worship and youth leadership. With a degree from the University of Texas and a passion for music, Jonathan has led the church's young adult ministry, trying to connect with millennials and Gen Z in ways his father could not. Alexandra, Joel's daughter, is also a talented singer and worship leader, bringing fresh energy to Lakewood's music. While neither has shown signs of wanting to take over their father's role as lead pastor just yet, many believe the Osteens may be grooming them to carry the legacy forward. Another possibility is that Lakewood transitions into a team-based leadership model, where multiple pastors share responsibilities instead of relying on a single personality. This could help the church avoid the pitfalls of celebrity-driven ministry, something critics have long warned about. Still, no matter who takes over, filling Joel's shoes will be one of the greatest